we need to concentrate on innovating, thinking outside the box, retrenching with quality, connecting with the audience we want to serve, and really drilling down on that. There are no shortcuts, there are no cheat codes. Ultimately, you really have to produce quality to win.
Welcome to B2B Content Strategist, where we bring you insights and practical tips straight from the minds of top B2B content marketing experts. I'm Amy Woods, founder and CEO of Content 10X, and in each episode, I chat with leading B2B marketers about how they consistently craft and execute successful campaigns, even when faced with tight deadlines and limited resources. If you're looking to elevate and optimize your content marketing efforts, you're in the right place. Keep listening. Hello and welcome to the B2B Content Strategist podcast. I'm your host, Amy Woods, and today I'm joined by Catherine Censor, Principal and Content Strategist at Cerity Partners. Cerity Partners is a national financial services firm that supports high net worth individuals, businesses, and non-profit organisations with a wide range of financial planning, investment and advisory services. As the firm's first and only content strategist, Catherine has played a key role in defining the company's voice and building their content foundation. In this episode, Catherine shares why substance is the starting point for all great content and why she can repurpose anything as long as the substance is there. We also talk about how her background in magazine editorial informs her B2B work and what it really means to serve, not sell, and why she believes quality will always win. There's so much insight in this conversation. Let's jump in. Catherine, welcome to B2B Content Strategist podcast. It's really nice to have you on.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I really appreciate your time. So the pleasure is all mine to be speaking to you today. Firstly, it would be fantastic if you could just share a little bit about your role and also a few sentences about what Cerity Partners does as well, if that's okay.
Of course. Cerity Partners is a national financial services firm. And in addition to a full complement of wealth management solutions and specialized services for high net worth individuals and families, we also offer B2B solutions for corporations and nonprofits. So these include things like retirement planning, workplace solutions, and OCIO. As a national firm, it handles about $123 billion in assets under management. We have 50 offices in 16 states, and I'm one of 1,300 colleagues. I am the sole content strategist. However, I am part of a 12-member marketing team.
So in terms of the marketing team, obviously you said you are the sole content strategist.
Content, yes.
Yeah. What does the other sides of the marketing team look like? Where are the other focuses amongst the other 12 people within the team?
We have a staff of people who are dedicated to digital lead generation, so digital marketing. I have colleagues who manage things like mergers. We have a substantial number of mergers into the firm, integration with those as well, and just general practice management.
And so you're out there solely responsible for the content, which sounds like a big responsibility. In terms of how you manage that, then there's so much content that you guys are creating just from where I am standing looking at things like your website and the content that I can see. And how do you keep working in-house with the content development and have other teams that are supporting you when it comes to the content production? Or do you tend to outsource some aspects as well? And if so, do you have like certain preferences over the things you really like to keep in-house and the things that you like to work with external experts and partners on?
Because I'm the first content strategist for Cerity Partners, I've been highly involved in the content development and very hands-on. We've been creating numerous new assets for the first time, so everything from brochures to web pages to videos. So I've wanted to partner very closely with the chief marketing officer to define our voice, and that's meant doing a lot of the work myself. So I've preferred to write most of it or partner with colleagues, including in-house subject matter experts on the thought leadership. We have multiple disciplines across the firm, so it's been imperative that I work with them not only to create the best content, but also to get my hands around what it is all of these people do, what are our strengths, what do we bring to the marketplace in order to articulate it. So the timing hasn't really been right to hand that off to other parties. However, now that much of the foundational work has been done, I am starting to work more with freelancers, and so they can model the work that I've done and help me scale it. So that's the next source. We do outsource our design and website development work, and we've partnered with an SEO firm to optimize the way the content is visible, to make it more visible and raise its accessibility.
Yeah, I feel like that's a fairly common response to that question when I ask about outsourcing. SEO usually is one of the key areas that most businesses seem to be working with SEO specialists. And like you said, like website, like development and things like that, that completely makes sense. But obviously, like you said, as you are building things up from scratch and finding, I suppose, that voice and content sweet spot, it makes sense that you want to be controlling that, so to speak, until you feel ready for the handoff. In your career, you've got experience obviously across B2B and B2C. What do you see as some of the big similarities and differences between the content world for B2B and then what in the content world for B2C?
I think one of the through lines and similarities, and to backtrack a bit, my roots go back to magazine editorial. I spent most of my career in magazines, and the through line between magazine editorial and marketing is the ability to connect what the audience needs to hear and what your corporate sponsors want to say or what you want to say. You can't sell to anybody in this environment where everyone is sophisticated and a sophisticated consumer of media and content. You can only serve. So whether you're B2C or B2B, it's all about understanding your audience, understanding their pain points, the classic marketing 101. That hasn't changed. I think the differences in B2B and B2C really come down to channel. The B2C is more heavily reliant on referrals and professional networks and things of that nature. But one of the mistakes I see with content producers is forgetting that the needs don't change. So everyone appreciates a good story. Everyone appreciates engaging content. And I think sometimes people second guess themselves when they're addressing B2B audiences and think that they have to adopt a specific formal tone or professional tone or jargon so that people will take them seriously. And I think that's a true missed opportunity. One of my influencers is a woman named Chandra Turner, who always writes that magazine editors make the best hires because they are native, they swim in this, they know this, and it's in their DNA, that the ability to tell a story is key to content success.
Yeah, I love that. I completely agree with you. And I love what you said about we don't sell, we serve. I feel like can see that quote image up on a billboard. But yeah, I completely agree with you. It's funny. And I think it was the third episode of this season of B2B Content Strategist. I met with Liba Chersky, who had been director of content at Picton Mahoney, and she said she was from a magazine background, just like yourself, like a print background and previously a journalist. And she also talked about story. And then it just keeps coming up again, the importance of story. And you are completely right. B2B, B2C, it's still just a human at the other end of that messaging, isn't it? Even if they are B2B, it's a person, it's a human. So the content still needs to connect. So there's always going to be that similarity. But like you said, the channels can be quite different. In terms of throughout your whole career, so not necessarily just looking at your current role, through your career, and what would you say, and I know this is a difficult question, but what would you say is one of the most memorable content, like marketing type campaigns that you've been involved in, and not necessarily most successful, but really memorable, and why it always comes to mind and you're like, why you remember it so well?
I think my favorite campaign of all time was in my previous role. I was the chief marketing officer for R360, which is a peer-to-peer network for ultra high net worth individuals. And it came out of a conversation we would have internally about members. We would talk about them in terms of what we called archetypes. We'd say, oh, that person is really an altruist. That one is a seeker. That one is a sage. And I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. If we're talking about this internally, maybe we could develop this into something that was external facing or for the members. And I came up with a behavioral assessment, and it really was based on character studies of these members. They're all super high achieving, of course, but they're high achieving in different ways. You have the Olympian who is like a type A, a classic type A, super competitive. You have somebody who's a sage who is more cerebral. You have altruists who are more motivated by family and community. And so I came up with this behavioral assessment, and the creative director I worked with had a field day creating almost like tarot cards with these. They're just beautiful to look at. And the behavioral assessment worked so well that first it got shortlisted for a Spears Award. It got media attention, which is great. Of course, you always want that. But more importantly, it generated leads, which was great. It was on our website. It's to this day still on the R360 Global website, and you can go and take it if you're so inclined. But what I loved about it particularly is that it had so many legs and so many avenues of success. First of all, if you took that assessment, I now know so much about you. I know, for example, if you're a sage, that, the right pitch to you marketing wise is that you're cerebral. You want to know the value add of membership in R360. If you are an altruist, I need to speak to our programs for rising leaders, for family membership. But aside from that, it really got adopted, and this was not superimposed. It became part of the DNA of the brand. Our members loved this, and they talked about themselves as, I'm a sage, I'm an altruist, I'm a seeker. They loved it. They had it on their name tags. They had it. It became something that they would send to friends and family and talk about the ways they interacted. So it really had a life of its own, and I think it's one of my proudest accomplishments because it wasn't, again, it's not selling, it's service in a great way, and it was engaging and fun and outside of the box. And I think it's those moments in this day and age when we're also caught up with AI and how to adapt to Google's new search engine and all these things, we tend to forget the power of a great idea. And these breakthrough ideas really are at the heart of what we do best.
Oh, yeah, that's such a good example. I love how you said it started off by the fact that you just all generally spoke about these different archetypes, and then you made something more from it with that idea, and it's still there on the site now. And
It's still there.
Yeah. I guess what's so fantastic about that is that, as you said, your audience, your customers and potential customers, they loved it and they embraced it and used that language and found it really useful. And then, of course, from a marketing perspective, it's just spoon feed into you information about those people in order to connect with them further, isn't it? And serve them better, provide them with better more relevant content because you know a little more about them and you know what kind of person they are.
Yes.
It's such a good example. So yeah, it reminds me of when people talk a lot about scorecard marketing these days and having different types of quizzes and scorecards that you get people to do in order to serve them like relevant information for them, but also glean more information than you would from just getting an email address or a phone number. Yeah, what a great example. In terms of the different types of content that you have, been responsible for creating, whether it's reports or white papers through to videos, articles, blog posts, all that kind of content, is there a particular type of content that you like to create because you can repurpose it so you can really rinse it and get more content and more return on investment? What would you say is your go-to for something that is going to keep on giving and we're going to get a lot more content from that content type?
I am actually agnostic about form. What I am not agnostic about is content. I need substance to work with. I can endlessly repurpose and repackage anything as long as the substance is there. So if you give me a PowerPoint, if you give me a bullet point list, I can make that into almost anything. I can make it into blogs. I can make it into a video script. I can make it into a white paper, an infographic, you name it. What I can't invent is substance. So really, that's where The fluff is the easy part. The packaging is the easy part. The hard part is the thought leadership and the substance. So once that's established and once that's built in, I can run with it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Otherwise, like you said, fluff is fluff, and whatever you repurpose into it, you're just going to be creating more fluff, aren't you,
And
basically?
it's dead on arrival, too. That's one of the things that I try to drill into people I work with is that nobody owes you their eyeballs or their time or attention. And in a world where we're competing for that, if you don't give them a compelling reason or a payoff for the content, you've wasted everyone's time. You're wasting your time creating it and theirs asking them to read it.
When you're doing like a review of an idea or a concept of content or even something that's been created, what are the key things that you therefore look at to see if it meets that test of if there is substance? There's certain things that you'll always be asking yourself and looking to pass that stress test.
I'm looking at it from the other lens of the telescope. You always want to look at your audience's needs and ask, is this new? Does it answer a need? Does it solve a problem? Am I getting value from my time from looking, reading this, watching it, whatever it is? And you have to check those boxes. If it's just that we need to put this out because we need to promote this or we have a service we want to say, it's not going to be effective.
And I think it's so important in this AI time as well, when you said, is it something new? Because I guess a big thing is that the content created by AI is never going to be new, because obviously AI has got that from somewhere and then is resharing that in a different way. So it can't come up with anything particularly new. It's always going to be based on something that's there. And then unique, differentiated content that's set apart from AI, because AI cannot do that uniqueness and that differentiated content. So it's more important than ever at the moment to meet that test, isn't it?
You got it. Just as like some packing materials are technically edible, but they're not food, the same is true as content. And right now, people are flooding the zone with substandard content, and ultimately that's going to backfire.
Yeah, I think so. And just on that topic of AI, so nice segue into that part of the conversation. How are you leveraging AI, if at all, in your content marketing efforts? Are there certain use cases that you're finding it useful for, or what are your views on that?
My favorite way to use AI is to be intentionally derivative. So if I have a white paper that I want to repackage as a blog or an invitation copy or whatever, AI is genius at that. Why would I be spinning my wheels and wasting time when all I want it to do is just repackage what I've already done, the hard work I've already done? I also like it to jog my creativity. If I'm stuck and I'm staring at a blank page and I just want to get going, get the wheels turning, I think AI is helpful in that regard. What it is not a substitute for is original thought. And that's as we discussed.
Yeah. Have you seen any or been involved in any like funny use cases where AI has been not behaving or like any kind of mishaps in that regard?
Yes, we have people, I have colleagues who are overly reliant on AI. They're not necessarily in the content space, but they ChatGPT and think, aha, I too am a content creator, push button, and it spews out exactly what you would think. And because it's grammatically correct and it looks right, they think they've done an excellent job. And I am left in the unfortunate position of having to say, no, this is not quality content. And so there is, in fact, an unwitting and weird bias too, where people see it because a computer has said it is so and has spit out the thing, they immediately almost believe the authority of it. So you occasionally have to retrench and explain that you can read for 500 words here and nothing's been said.
Just a super quick break from this conversation to let you know that if you're a B2B technology or professional services company, and you want help with streamlining your content operations, outsourcing your content repurposing is the #1 way to produce more high-quality content and boost your ROI without putting any more pressure on your team. In fact, it could save your team up to 30 hours per week. We offer content repurposing services for video and audio content. Whether you have a show or you're launching a brand new one, maybe you have an archive of awesome content, be it webinars or a virtual event, or you want help creating thought leadership content that we can repurpose, we've got you covered. Head to content10x.com to see how we can help you and start increasing your efficiency and the value you get from your content. Now back to the conversation. Yeah, I know. And what you said as well, it can just be not truthful. It can just say anything, can't it? And you have to really fact check. It can say nothing, or at the same time I think the phrase I hear often is it Gen AI hallucinations. It can completely hallucinate.
But even when it's not that, even when it's factually correct, it lacks the meat of the matter. When you talk to a human, the reason like when you prefer to speak to a human when customer service goes awry instead of a chat bot is that you can cut to an answer. You can get somebody who can think outside the box. Oh, I see. The package has gone awry, so I'm going to call FedEx. That kind of thing. That is what ChatGPT cannot do. It cannot be creative. It cannot be funny. I don't know if you've noticed that. It lacks the element, it lacks the ability. It is intentionally derivative. It is predicting what the next word is. So it cannot match it, even if it's fine. It cannot match what you as a human can do yet.
No, it can't. It can't be funny, and it doesn't get satire or humor at all either, does it? So if it can take information that some kind of satirical post on the internet, and it'll think that is the truth and then dish that up as the truth.
Yes.
Yeah. And not necessarily just AI, so just generally across the world of like content tools and editorial tools, etc. Are there any tools in particular that you like to use just as part of your day-to-day, like any real couldn't live without tools within the content world?
I love Grammarly. The Pro account is great because no matter how tuned in I am, no matter how careful, I will miss an extra space. I will miss a repetition of the word the. And I feel like it's driving with my seatbelt on. It's just having that extra check is really helpful.
Yeah, I really like Grammarly too. A few people have mentioned Grammarly on this season of the podcast. I feel like I should reach out to them and ask them if they want to sponsor this show because it's mentioned a few times, but I love it too. It is really good. It's like your editorial, like your copy editor friend that's just there to keep you in line, isn't it? With just coming back to AI across all the different Gen AIs like Perplexity and ChatGPT and Claude and all of them. And when you do use it, like you mentioned, it's great for helping with ideation and like summarizing things you've already created, things like that. What go-tos do you tend to like in that Gen AI area for the tools that are available?
Plain vanilla OpenAI works just fine for my needs right now. I know that some people have custom models and all of those things. I have not gone that route. I haven't found it necessary yet. Who knows where the future lies with that? But for now, my needs are very basic.
Yeah, and it does the job. Yeah, and they keep updating, keeps having various iteratives, doesn't it? It keeps updating and getting better. So
it does. And I'm sure that there are things I have not leveraged yet and will eventually do. But for now, my needs are basic enough that I don't need anything special.
Yeah, no, that's great. Looking into your crystal ball, so to speak, so the future of B2B marketing and content in the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years or so, are there any particular like innovations or changes that you foresee on the horizon in this content space that we work in?
Yes, I think that we are currently engaged in an arms race almost with tech, which is that there are whole agencies and consultants, a whole subgenre of business that is trying to game the system and help you. But as many resources and as much money as people throw at this, the gains are short term until a competitor outspends or outsmarts you. So I feel like the cat and mouse game is a loser's game. Ultimately, I think we're going to go full cycle in that instead of everybody using the same tools in the same ways, which you're going to get same results, the differentiator is going to be a return to quality. And that is ultimately, no matter how many gyrations and evolutions Google has gone through, for example, they've always maintained, and I believe that it's designed to reward quality. And I think that if we can, obviously, you don't want to tune out completely what's going on in SEO and what's going on in these different ways. And you want to keep in mind and keep adapting. I think that ultimately we need to concentrate on innovating. Innovating, for example, the archetypes that I mentioned, thinking outside the box, retrenching with quality, connecting with the audience we want to serve, and really drilling down on that. There are no shortcuts. There are no cheat codes. Ultimately, you really have to produce quality to win.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that because there are these tools out there that can make it a quantity play, just like quick and easy quantity, it's just going to make actually the quality shine even brighter as we're flooded with the low quality, commoditized, undifferentiated. And it is. And you're right, I think that, like you were saying about Google and through all the various changes we've seen in the world of search, it's the case that the priority is to try and get the highest quality and what people want and get the most value from in front of people, isn't it? Through all the black hat SEO articles to now like AI generated content and things like that. We need to find a way to ensure that we focus on that quality, don't we? And that's through connection. And that's something that we need to understand our audience, going back to what you said before about surfing, not selling, in order to connect. Yeah, if the war is on, then it's the quality that's going to win at the end, isn't it? So that's where we need to play our cards. Yeah, I love that. So on the B2B Content Strategist, I really love this section, the fun section where we ask every guest to ask the next guest a question. But at the time, no, they don't know who it is. They just know that it is a fellow leader in the B2B marketing space. And what would you ask a room full of leaders and love to hear the answer to? So the question to you, it comes from Miles Carter. He's the Senior Director of Content Marketing at Trolley. And his question is,
now that people are turning to AI tools to answer their question as opposed to Google itself, how has your approach to SEO changed? And as a part two to that is, what role does AI optimization play in your strategy moving forward?
An excellent question. Now that Google is trying to keep people within its own ecosystem, keep them from going to links, the battle is to rank for the questions. So I know that many SEO strategists are advising us to do things like sprinkle the website with questions and answers because it plugs so seamlessly into the way Google answers search queries. And while I certainly understand the wisdom of that, and we will do that, I think that's going to be a short-term game because, again, as soon as everybody adopts it, you're back to zero, right? This is not going to be a winning strategy for the long term. And as we discussed, the long-term strategy is to retrench and focus on what differentiates your brand, what differentiates the value add of your content, what makes it exceptional. So I think that's the long game.
yeah, so do I. Yeah, absolutely. Great answer. Yeah, thank you. And now it turns on to you now. What question do you have for our next guest?
In the B2B space, sharing content in networks seems to be really important to generate referral traffic, to get interest in it, and to build credibility for your content. In a large volume production content space where you have a lot of content going at once, how do you engage your colleagues and incentivize them to share? What are you doing to make sure they're aware of everything you're doing internally? How do you get them to pay attention?
Oh, I love that question. And for all the different questions, I've not had one on that before, on employee advocacy and people within the organization sharing things like that. That's a really good question. I had a call yesterday with a new client of ours, and we were talking about exactly that, all this content that we were creating, and it was really imperative that their sales representatives were sharing that content too. And how do we get a program going on that? How do you do that? What do we need to create? And say, how do you create the buzz? Where's the incentive and all that? So I'm very looking forward to the answers to that question as well. So that was really good. Catherine, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a really great conversation, so much value. I can literally see like some of the killer quotes that you said just up there, and it's like a graphic and things like that, because I really loved everything that you said. You provided so much so much insight, and from a place of so much experience, just sharing your views is really insightful. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
I'll put links to things that we mentioned in the show notes, and obviously I'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile as well. So if people want to let you know that they enjoyed this conversation, they can let you know over on LinkedIn as well, if that's okay.
Of course.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to everyone else hearing this awesome conversation as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of B2B Content Strategist. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Feel free to connect with me on social media. You can find me, Amy Woods, founder of Content 10X, on LinkedIn. If you get in touch, please do leave a message and let me know that you listen to B2B Content Strategist. You can also connect with Content 10X. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And for more insights on optimizing your content marketing and the power of repurposing, head over to content10x.com. You'll discover valuable resources to help you maximize the impact of your content. We have our sister podcast, the Content 10X podcast, hundreds and hundreds of blog posts, and a library full of free resources and guides, all about how to be a better content creator and content repurposer. If you're seeking consulting support or a trusted partner to handle your content creation, repurposing and distribution, then also reach out to us. We offer a world-class, fully managed service that takes care of as much or as little as you need when you need it. Once again, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'll catch you in the next one.